Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. Your host JP John Paz. With me today, very special guest, a WWE Hall of Famer, a three-time WWF Women's Champion. She's of course one of the greatest, Medusa. Medusa, welcome to the two-man power trip. How you doing?
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I am booked like back to back with interview. Today must be interview days because I've got them back
Yeah.
to back. And I quick ran over here and thank you for having me so much. First of all, look at all behind you. You do you like wrestling or something? Or what is
A little
this?
bit,
Oh
yeah. Yeah, a
yeah.
little bit of a
Are
fan,
those
yeah.
DVDs behind you?
Yes, yes. Old
Wow. How
school
far do you go
DVD.
back? How far do you go back? What is your first thought of wrestling?
Probably 1985.
No
Hulk.
way. You're
Yeah,
not
the
even
Hulk
that
show.
old.
No, I'm 40. Yeah, I'm born in 82. I'm
You're
old.
young.
I'm old. We're getting
So
up
you,
there, yeah.
yeah. So hey, you go all the way back then, so you know some good history wrestling. So I love to hear that. That's good. You're just not an attitude era guy forward, so
No.
you're like a full scope. That's
Yes.
good for
Yes.
you.
And my dad was a fan too because it's funny, I was going through some of his old stuff. He
Mhm.
has a Polaroid from, like, 1979, 1980 with Fabulous Moolah. He used to sell insurance to Pedro Morales, so, got
No
some wrestling.
way.
Yeah, got some
Oh my
wrestling in the blood
gosh.
here. Yeah,
Aren't those
yeah.
stories the best though? Just little things, tidbits like that. That's great.
And obviously, you've got a lot of history in the business, talking about 40 years in the wrestling business. The woman who would become a king, the Medusa
Hmm.
story, your new book, right?
Hmm.
Yes, which you wanna
Yes.
get out there, you wanna plug, you wanna talk about today.
Let me tell you, the book has been in the making for 40 years or so. And I knew when I wrote this book that it wasn't just going to be a book. I had other aspirations, just for it to become something. Either, of course, I wanted it to be a movie because, the big documentaries weren't big back then or now series. So my goal is I'd like to see this go into a series, kind of like The Young Rock, right? And
Mm.
so my goal is that. So I'm really working on a lot of things. The book I tried to publish it a few times, but the timing is everything, right? I mean, the first time I tried to publish was like too young in my career. Wouldn't have made sense. I don't have a lot to talk about. In the second or third, but a lot of things were happening and transitions and big things. And all of a sudden I get the call for monster trucks. I'm like, I can't publish it yet. I've got monster trucks, right? 20 years fast forward after racing monster trucks. And what else do you do during a pandemic besides have lots of sex with your husband or write a book? So that's what I did. And yeah, I mean, the pandemic was pretty wild, right? We all found ways and to overcome and do whatever. And my husband and I had absolute blast together. We did. It was either going to make you or break you in a relationship, and we had a good time. And then on top of that, I wrote a book. So I'm like, timing is everything. And collaborating with ECW Press and Greg Oliver was absolutely joyful because Greg took the book that I already had written and then all of our interviews and people that he interviewed to fact check my stories was incredible. And so when that came to fruition, I was like, oh my gosh, this is written so well written. And like when you read it, it feels like everyone says it's like I'm talking to them. And so I've accomplished. But again, how do you put 40 years plus into a book? You just can't. So there's about 8 chapters out of there. And I'll probably be pulling them out and writing books out of each chapter.
Wow, yeah, and the thing to me is which is crazy, like, if you really think about it, so it's like monster trucks, wrestling,
Mm.
very, very male-dominated areas, the industries,
Especially at
whatever you
those
wanna say.
times,
Yeah, it's
80s,
like,
90s.
how do you
Whew.
how do you, like, break through that? Because that that's not one business, that's twice you did it.
I know. And usually, let me tell you, I was so broken after wrestling. I was so broken, so jaded, so skeptical that going into another business I didn't realize was even decades behind what wrestling was. So it was like stepping into something back in the 70s and starting it all over again and paving the way. And but once I got into it, I realized how competitive it was before it was an absolute, entertainment, let's say.
Yep.
And so people will say and fight for that and say, oh, no, it's not. Oh, it's entertainment. So I loved it because I'm very highly competitive. So stepping out of entertainment for so long, being told who's going to win, who's going to lose in wrestling, that I actually stepped into something and won something. I found my niche. And then I found like I'm really good at this. And then I beat Dennis Anderson of Gravedigger, the world renowned, legendary, amazing man. I beat him at the world finals of Monster Jam, and I became a 2-time world champion there. So I set the bar pretty high, you know what I mean? And I loved what I did in both entertainment sports thereafter. Um, but however, it really took a toll because first of all, I was very good to wrestling. Wrestling wasn't good to me. And monster trucks, it was like just always, no pun intended, but hitting a brick wall, and it was very hard to have the good old boys club listen to a woman that came from the entertainment business and say, hey, this is what they see. You hired me for this reason. You wanted women in the stands. You wanted a woman driving a truck because you don't have one. Some of the things that I have and my ideas work because I just came from an industry of almost 20 years, And so it's like they started butting heads with me. It's like I had a voice and they didn't want to hear it. So 20 years I struggled very hard within monster trucks, something they wanted, but they didn't want to hear. Yeah.
When you look at wrestling, like you said, you gave a lot, maybe they didn't give enough back. Do you think that your legacy is where it should be as far as you paving the way and your name and as far as the wrestling side of things?
I think if we look at that way, absolutely, because it was at a time that I either could have sold my soul or my integrity, or I stuck to what I believed in to let people know, even through tragedies to triumphs, you can persevere. And it was my right choice, even though that I was a paver. That is, in every organization, in every little thing, there's always somebody that paves the way to make it better for somebody else. However, it's even happening today. There's people that are making it better for the future of tomorrow.
So, what do you think is the legacy of Medusa in wrestling?
Well, I think it's a woman that her legacy. I mean, how do you answer that? Asking myself. I mean, I just, there's just so much I could say without sounding arrogant or just, I'm going to leave it to you. You've watched me wrestle, right?
Hmm.
Have you watched any of my monster trucks?
No, but my son is a huge monster truck fan, so he's probably seen it. Yeah,
If you've seen my wrestling, what would you say my legacy was as a fan's point of view?
trailblazer. You
Yes.
kind of came along, like you said, male dominated. You fought your way through, whether it was wrestling some of the men, beating up on Paul Heyman, many years ago, but having great matches with
But the
Tasha
legacy,
Kong,
what
Bull
is that
Nakano.
legacy? What is that legacy?
I would
What
say, no doubt
trailblazer?
about it, trailblazer, no doubt about it. Yeah, you
Yes,
broke through
changing,
when, yep, you changed the business for sure. But
changed the business.
do you think you get
Absolutely.
enough credit though?
It's not about searching for what I think wrestling owes me because wrestling doesn't owe me anything. I know that I've done my job and I know what I've done because people still ask me for interviews. People still ask me for seminars. People still ask me for autographs. And I think that if it were to be in the history books, it would be a woman that changed the trajectory of pro wrestling and blazed the trail to success, overcoming all of these obstacles and letting people know that if you look at her story and you read her story, and there's something in there for everybody. It's not just a wrestling book. It's not a monster truck book. It's a whole life book with so much more, right? And so there's something in there for everybody. If it's womanhood, if it's, this or that, it's just, yeah, I've just lived a very colorful life and I am so grateful. I am just so blessed that I did not sell my soul and I kept my integrity intact. And it's so important. And it's very difficult in these businesses. You see it happen so many times that, hey, they want that bigger paycheck, so they're going to do this or that. I don't have to live with that.
free of a conscience there. Yeah, some people might have a guilty conscience about some of that stuff for sure.
Eh,
Yeah.
that's maybe they don't. Maybe people can live with that. I
Or
don't know.
when you look at the book, was it like a good experience just kind of going through down memory lane? Because some people, when they write the book, they're like, man, I kind of want to relive that, or I do want to relive that. So, did you have a lot of those experiences?
That's a good point, and it's a great question, and I call it peeling back an onion,
Yep.
basically, because sometimes you peel it and your eyes water. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So some things you don't want to relive, but it's a story to be told because there's a lot of people that can resonate, and at some points you feel vilified, there are so many things in there that brings you on a roller coaster ride that is just crazy that I'm not here. You know what I'm saying? I could have chose to do drugs. I could have been an alcoholic. I could have been trafficked. I could have been just by wrong choices because of the world I chose. And I think I'm here. I'm here to tell the story.
It is
And
funny, like when you look at some of the things, like it could bring back really bad emotions, but some things it's like, man, I'm so glad I accomplished that. I'm so glad I did it.
absolutely. I just shake my head and go, I am so glad I chose what I did. And it is a happy, happy feeling. And in one of the pinnacle points of my life is meeting my husband because he is very well structured. He's so super intelligent. 31 years in the military, command sergeant major of the Army. And we are polar opposites, but we are so together. Like, it's just, he was a good ingredient in my life.
You needed
And
that, yeah.
yes, and he has helped me as a woman really become my own. I think one of the things that he points out more than anything, because I was so self-deprecating myself, I would always say, oh God, I'm ugly. God, I'm horrible. Who would look at me? Oh, I'm awful looking. Or, just, oh my God, I'm so fat. He's like, every time he'd be like, gosh, Deborah, real name's Deborah. Deborah, you're the sexiest woman I've ever laid my eyes on. And do you know, after so many years of marriage, to this day, he comes in, he'll tap me on the butt and he'll say, I love you, or boy, I got a hot wife. And for a man to do that after all of these years and the obstacles even I've been through and he's been through and we've been through together, that speaks volumes. That's a damn good man.
Where'd you guys
So,
meet? How did you meet?
on the internet, long, long, long time before it was internet. It's in the book. You didn't read
Okay,
the
all right.
book.
Not yet. No, no, not yet.
Okay. A lot of all these stories are in the book, but yeah, you're gonna have to read that story. It's pretty amazing.
Okay. Because I
Yeah,
was gonna say
yeah.
military guy, wrestler,
Oh my
like where do they cross
God.
paths? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Right? It's
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
good. So good. So
When you look
good.
when you look back though, what if you didn't meet him? Like, you know what I mean? You could have went that way. You could have went
Coulda, woulda,
downhill. Yeah.
shoulda. And
Right, right.
when you read some of these stories, you probably say, well, what if she didn't choose what if she didn't choose this path? What if she would have
Right.
said no to monster trucks? What would she have done? Or there's a story in there. What would she have done if she didn't choose wrestling, but she would have chose that? It's going to baffle you. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Coulda,
I
woulda,
love it.
shoulda. Apparently I chose the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. With today's wrestling, I know obviously
Mm,
you were doing some work for NXT, doing some work for the NWA, and my buddy
yes.
Dr. Tom sees you once in a while.
I love Dr. Tom. I tease him so bad. Him and I are both producing on NWA.
Yeah.
And I love him. He's such old school and just such a great mind for the business. And he's such an asset to the NWA.
I went to one of his training camps down at JPWA, just as a
Mm,
buddy, just watching what he was doing. And it's funny, like the way he can like dissect something, I wouldn't think you wouldn't even notice. The guy had the hammer lock wrong and the wrong side. It was like, man, he could just like pick up on something and he knows exactly what to change.
Smallest things makes the
Yeah.
biggest difference, you know? And then again, a lot of them will say, like, well, I grabbed that way because that's what we do in Japan. Well, we're here, and I know you work that way, but we need to work this way on the right or the left. You did it. Yeah. Yeah. He's remarkable.
What do you think about the current state of not just wrestling in general, but the current state of women's wrestling? Like, are they progressing? Each it feels like maybe each level, maybe they're getting a little bit better than they were a few years ago. Are they
Of
getting better or no?
course. Every decade, every era of wrestling evolves. And if it's not evolving, then shame on our industry. Shame on the people controlling our industry if it's not evolving. However, the women have always been 10 steps behind. And I don't think it's because of the choice of the women. I think it's because of the choice of the control. And that's what I got to
Creative.
say about that. Yeah, creative control. And I truly believe, do I think someday maybe, women can definitely headline WrestleMania? And it's a full package, as I always tell everybody. There are a few women that probably could and that are good enough. But you're only as good as your team, John. You're only as good as your creative writers. You're only as good as your marketing. You can put in the work and take that best bumps or whatever. But if you two just go out there and have a match, people aren't going to understand it. Okay, that was great. But like the Bloodline story. I mean, have we ever had a woman's story last that long? I don't think
No.
so.
Mm-mm.
Well, let's start one. See what happens.
I know a lot of people were complaining that, hey, why didn't Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley headline the night one part of Mania? But the Sami Zayn Uso storyline has been going on for a year. So, like that, to your point, that kind of takes precedent because it's been such a long developing story.
It is. It was a great story, and it deserved a headline. It did. That should have. Now, Charlotte and Rhea had a hell of a match, but about halfway through to the end was a hell of a match. There was a few foot stepping and all that stuff, finding stuff at the beginning. But again, I mean, where was the long storyline there? People are trying to figure that out, right?
Yeah,
How long was
there
that
wasn't a
going on?
storyline.
Thank you.
30 days or less. Yeah, it was like a month basically.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, is that what we're getting? Is that what women? Again, we're still 10 steps behind, but they're evolving. Very much so. The women are evolving. We just need the control department to evolve.
would you say you're officially retired from in ring?
Well, I mean, I believe I have one more match, but again, I'm only as creative as the team. And who would it be? I don't know. It would have to be somebody that could carry the match just in case I hit my head and I forgot where I was for a few seconds and I could rely on them because it's happened in Japan when I was there, hit my head, couldn't remember where I was at, but I was still going through the emotion and it was just a matter of seconds, but you need that somebody that could carry your ass. And me going in with a new kid, no, not at this point in my age. No. My
How about
career,
Charlotte
no.
Flair?
Everyone would love to see a Charlotte Flair, Alundra Blaze match. I hear it a lot. I absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it would be all right. I think it'd be good. But there's a lot of them. There's a few of them. They'd be good.
What is it about Charlotte that kind of everybody keeps bringing her name up to you? Even I brought
Maybe
her name up
because,
first.
yeah, I think because she's the face. She's the one that's only promoted that strong, correct? Right?
Pretty much. Her and Bianca Belair, yeah, pretty much.
Well, Bianca's getting there, yeah. And we've only heard Bianca being pushed hard, just kind of recently. But Flair's been in our face for years, right? Yeah.
Yep.
But there's no other woman like that's being hard. Now, Becky got a great break when she got her nose busted from Lena. I mean, that made her career. Embrace it, babe, and go for it. Because as soon as that happened, didn't Becky escalate? I mean, her whole situation took off. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's the best thing that happened to Becky's career at that moment. Listen, clickbaits, I didn't just say that was the only thing about Becky. I said that's one of the good things, because argue with me if you want, but it took her career, it skyrocketed. So clickbaits, just have fun with that.
Yeah. Oh, Medusa thinks Becky Lynch is only good at one thing or whatever.
Yeah, whatever they're going to do, I can't wait because they know not to F with me. So go ahead.
You'll kick their
I love
ass,
it. I
right?
mean, I
Yeah.
love it. It's just, hey, these journalists out there think they're journalists. They love wrestling, so they think they can write about it. So whatever.
Technically not journalism, though. If you really
No,
technically think about it, it's not,
what
right?
wrestling?
No, 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 no. What they do, they're just like cut and pasting and clicking and
Yes.
transcribing. That's not like real journalism.
No, no. What do you think of Meltzer? There's
I like Dave.
journalism. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do too.
he might be the only real journalist in the game.
He is a journalist.
Yeah, legitimate. Yes. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yep.
And, he gets the most hate. Why? Because he's a journalist? Or do people like clickbait crap? That's the problem with social media. Everyone wants it now, quick, media, blah, blah, blah. And then it's crap.
And they just literally sometimes will cut and paste it, like you said, like somebody's comment, but they'll transcribe it and they'll cut off the beginning and the end. It, like you said with Becky, like,
Yes.
oh, it'll be one thing that she said about Becky. Wait, that's not what I said.
They know I love Becky. I mean, that's one person who'd be great to have a match with. Her and Bailey. Bailey would be phenomenal. Even
And
Natty. I mean, Natty's a freaking powerhouse, man. And Beth Phoenix. There's one I would definitely. I mean,
Rhea Ripley, another one.
yeah, or Rhea as well. But again, I mean, yeah.
You want it
Mhm.
to be built up a little bit, though. There's got to be a story
Yeah,
behind it.
I'm not going to come in, pop it off and leave. No, no. And if if not, then I'm fine where I'm at in life. I've already did what I needed to do, and that's paved the way and, make the women's wrestling where it is today. Now, it isn't just me. It was a whole bunch of women that made it possible to where women are today. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy.
Absolutely. Cool thing, though, about the book, of course, is Paul Heyman does the
Forward.
forward,
Mhm.
which is awesome. You know him for a very long time. He's still
Many, yes, over
many
30 years.
funny. He's great with the bloodline. I love when you were with him in the Dangerous Alliance. I feel like that's almost overlooked. That faction,
Everyone
Rude and
says that.
Austin and Arn Anderson, might be better than the Horsemen, who Arn Anderson was also part of. I don't know. I love the Dangerous Alliance. So I mean, obviously, you know Paulie for a long time.
Yes, I would love to see something like the DA put back together somehow and go up against the bloodline.
Ooh.
Mhm.
With Heyman part of the Dangerous Alliance, you mean? Yeah, okay,
Mhm.
and he leaves the blood. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. So, what I'm trying to say is I would love to like recreate this and scare Paul and be ahead of the DA.
Oh, okay,
Oh.
nice. Beat his ass like he did back in like 91, 92. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Could you see him and I like the people would be like, "What the?" Oh yeah.
He'd be nervous.
Yeah, I love him. But I mean, can you kind of feel it, see it? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And
yeah.
then people, it would be a nice flashback for people. It's not like I'm getting into the ring, but it'd be Paul and I. People would be waiting, waiting, waiting. It could be a hell of a storyline up until that pinnacle point. And then I could put together a DA. Yeah, I could hear the promos. I've been trained by the best. I have been under, the radar, blah, 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 and going on and on and on. And oh boy, I have put together and reinvented the DA.
I like it. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks to Paul Heyman. I can just see him going, what? And then start introducing guys and squaring off, intermittently
Yeah,
through the bloodline.
I love it. But as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish here. Give us
Yes.
one last big push for the book, where everybody can get it and why they should get it.
Thank you. Well, the book, The Woman Who Would Be King, with the foreword written by Paul Heyman and with the help writing with Greg Oliver, is a tremendous book. The reviews are great. It's all 5 stars. I think I got 1 or 2 4 stars. So I mean that really speaks volumes. And thank God to ECW Press out of Canada for believing in me and putting this all together. The book isn't just a wrestling book or a monster truck book. It's a book that can resonate to all walks of life. It's a motivation book. It's an inspiring book. It's a book that will make you laugh, cry, make you mad, and then circle back and make you happy again. It's a book of perseverance. It's a book of overcoming obstacles and adversities, tragedies to triumphs, and just surviving two huge male dominant entities in this world of entertainment and not becoming a statistic by the choices I made.
I love it.
There you go. And it's all available on Amazon. And there is audiobooks, audio version coming out in about 6 months. I just signed the deal on that.
Nice. And where can everybody find you? Social media and website and everything like that.
Website, Madusa.com, Madusa.com. Everything is on there because you hit that. You can see the link tree, and then it'll take you to all the Instagram, all the social media stuff. It even has like a calendar on there, and you can see everything in like real live time and things where I'm at and where I'm going and stuff like that.
So not retired from the ring technically, but are retired from monster trucks, right?
You never know. I might come back and run the DA. Who knows?
All right. I like it.
I do too. We don't have a woman's like prominent manager carrying that role like Paul.
No. Nope. They should.
Okay. I rest my case. Okay. Thank you, John, so much for having me. I appreciate it. And wishing you the best. And
thank you.
Yeah. All of that
Everybody
other good
pick
stuff.
up the book. Yes. Thank you so much.
Pick up the book. Thank you. You got to get it.
Yes, I will. It's on order from Amazon. So
It
I will be getting
is.
it.
Good.
Yes.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.